Welcome back into the Beers and Ball Show, episode 2 of the Beers and Buck Show. Got my dad back here. Dad, how the hell are you today?
I'm doing fine, son. How are you?
It's a beautiful day. It's pretty damn hot outside. It's really hot outside. So that's why I'm inside today. I'm inside today for that. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Before we get into today, we're gonna be talking about. Last week we talked about the offense. Today we are talking about the defense. And the first thing we got to do today is a nice little blast from the past. So we're going to be looking at some of the all-time best defensive players that the Ohio State Buckeyes had, just to kind of get our juices flowing from when we're talking about this upcoming year. So let's take a look.
Williams is number 33. And Glassbach back to throw. Pressure's coming. The pass is thrown underneath to Howard. He does a very good job until he ran into Andy Katzenmoyer, and Moyer almost killed him. Look at it from behind the defense, other side of the field. Katzenmoyer was the National High School Defensive Player of the Year just last year. And there he is, number 45.
So to talk about the Catman, Dad, what made the Catman this special style of linebacker?
Well, the first thing is, if you look on the video, his size. He was a big guy for a linebacker. He was about 250. He could run, and obviously you've seen he'll hit people too. And a lot of guys come in to college with all the accolades they get when in high school, whatever. He never talked about any of that stuff. He just wanted to get on the field and start hitting people. And as you can see, he was a weapon, man. I mean, when you played any other team, they had to scheme around Catton's Merrick, and it was just tough. He was a Spillman. He was like more of a blue collar player. He came and just threw everything he had to stop the play. But Katzman had a little bit more talent, ability, and he used it all to bust up plays. So both of them were great linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, his size is he's a massive human being. The way, because that was just one of many, many highlights. We just don't want to get on YouTube's bad side today, so we'll leave him alone. But I found this next one, the assassin. Jack Tatum is going to be the next guy we take a look at. And I found this little kind of short form video of him. And let's check it out.
Tatum came to Ohio State as a running back, but was moved to defense before his sophomore season. That year, he was one of Woody Hayes' group of super softs that took Ohio State to the 1968 National Championship. Playing the wide side of the field, Tatum took away the opposition's running game, forcing them into the short side. The two-time All-America and National Defensive Player of the Year, was a ferocious hitter who helped the Buckeyes to a combined 27-2 record and 3 conference titles.
I mean, that's just exciting in its own, listening to his resume in those 2 years. Now, you got to, when they were on TV, you got to watch them. What was the impact Jack Tatum had for Ohio State that you saw?
Well, I've never seen a player play safety like Jack Tatum. His nickname was the Assassin. And the reason was, I've never seen any football player play as physical as he did. Maybe Buckeyes, but other than that, no one's ever close to him. And the year before in the Rose Bowl, they were playing USC, and everybody was talking about O.J. Simpson, and he's going to do this and that, and he won the Heisman and this and that. And they asked Jack about it. He goes, "It ain't going to happen." Now, he had one big run for a touchdown, but other than that, he didn't have much more. And I think Jack took that personal.
I mean, he inflicted even more misery and pain when he got to the NFL level too. And then the last guy, I think this is one of the more thrown around known hits. It's Zach Dumas. I hope I'm saying it right. Dumas.
Dumas.
And this, I feel like everybody that's ever watched a compilation of big hit videos, this one is always in it.
Cooper was afraid they'd be overmatched, and he wanted to keep his offense out for a sustained drive to keep his defense off. Flat out ball, and there was the biggest hit maybe of the 1989-90 bowl season. Danley down as he was struck by Zach Dumas.
Zach Dumas, a fellow that came to this university as a running back and said, you know, I don't like to get hit. What I like to do is hit people. And he put a knockout blow on Danley that time.
Hardest tackle I've seen in years.
You see this ball now? He's going to get hit just about the time that ball hits his hands. Dumas just unloads on him.
Hell, that was probably the highlight of Cooper's entire tenure at Ohio State.
Well, unfortunately, they lost that game. But that was the highlight of the game.
Hell, oh man. Well, that was a fun blast from the past to kind of look at some of the past, Ohio State greats and kind of the impacts they had on their certain team. But before we move in to start talking about the now 2026 Ohio State Buckeyes defense, let's drink some beer, old man.
All right.
Cheers.
I was waiting for that.
Okay. So as we kind of move into this offseason, it is such a difficult job for defensive coaches to just have to keep reloading every year, it feels like, because Ohio State's losing 7 key starters to include Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. Do you think Ohio State has the replacements for those guys? I mean, obviously the position replacement you have, but can you even replace like the impact those two players had?
Well, the guys that went to the pros, they're real good players. I mean, you don't find those guys, every year. But, when I look at the people that are going to start on the defense this year coming up, it's more of a blue-collar group, just like I said Spielman was. I think they're very talented, too. And they don't have the names, and they don't have all the press behind them. But there's a lot of really good players on that. And the thing that I like more about this year is there's depth in there. And, when you talk about linebackers, they're replacing Styles and Reese, those guys, they're both were top 10 picks. But the two guys that I think they're going to start, they're not big known names, but I think they know how to play the game. And the guys behind them are the real freshmen that came in last year and contributed a little bit, but I think they're really, to step up too. So I think that when we look at the overall defense, you're going to see there's a lot more depth than we had last year.
And that's what I would think. I think you're just almost zero chance that they can replicate the generationally good defense they had last year. Like that's where the expectations need to be tempered a little bit. But which one of the position groups do you think is going to kind of lead that defense? Because we saw Sonny was a leader, Caleb was a leader. Like those are the two guys. Who do you think is going to be the two guys on defense that are really going to lead this team to wherever national championship, beat Michigan, and take on that attitude?
Well, I think first starts with Pierce at middle linebacker. He's going to have the guy that control the running game, okay? And he's got to be able to flash in there and stop the runs and things like that. He's also be calling the defensive plays. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of responsibility on him, okay? So I really look for, if they're going to be successful, that's one position they're really going to have to step up. The second one I would say is going to be Jackson. He had a pretty good year last year, but this year that's not good enough. I mean, we have a lot of guys, a lot of them new transfers on the line and things like that. We don't know what we got. I think we're going to be okay, maybe good, better than okay. They may be better than that, but it's going to start with Jackson. And he's going to have to find a way at least to get double-digit sacks. And, it's going to start with him, and he's the leader. So we got to go with that.
Yeah, I was kind of in line with the same thing, and kind of the more I dug, I was like, it's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be the two corners, Sanchez and Matthews. I think they're going to play a big part in this because, they're not involved in any play, but you can do a lot of wild things when you got two standalone, really good corners on the boundaries. So I think their play and the way they're going to be able to no fly zone, I mean, that sends a message to every single team that you're not going to be able to throw the ball. That is one that I'm going to keep my eye on the most. But I do agree. I think Pierce is the obvious choice because he's going to be the green dot backer, calling the plays, making sure the alignment's right. It all starts with him, and then it generates out from there.
Well,
now, with this being, go ahead.
Let me add one thing to that. That's why I didn't bring up the secondary. I think that's their strength on defense. The 4 guys or 5 guys that are starting are all good, but they have about 3 or 4 guys that are coming up that if you look in the spring game, and I don't put a whole lot in that, but you hear about raise in practice and things like that, and they're making plays. I mean, I'm starting to think, man, that they got something going on there. And I think, the returning starters from last year, Matthews and McLean, I think they played with those guys and they saw what they could do. And they know how to do that. You got Sanchez, which was a part-time starter. So he's there. And they got 2 transfers that are seniors. So I think they've got a good mix. They got a lot of talent, a lot of athletes back there. And I think they're going to be really strong there.
So do you think with this kind of younger, less experienced defense that's going to be out there? I mean, I know you said we got some seniors on the back end, but overall playing together, it'll be their first time all being together as it is for like every other team. But with it being younger, do you think Matt Patricia might lean more into the aggressive style defense, blitzing more? Or do you think he's going to just same scheme, send 4 and disguise on the back end?
Well, I think, and this is what I would like to see, is
sometimes those two things don't match.
Yeah, but I think he's going to blitz a little bit more. And the reason I say that is, other than a couple of guys, most of these guys haven't played a lot. Okay. So he's going to be running his scheme. Okay. And when you're running that scheme, you either man your position and hope you've got everything covered, or in my opinion, you have a little bit more control of it when you start sending people, because that makes the game faster, and people have to make decisions, quickly. And when you're starting the number of new starters on defense, I think things like that sends the message that this is not a drop from last year. It's just new players from this year.
Yeah, I'm understanding because I want to blitz. I am a blitz lover. Send them, go after them. Send all the dogs. But I understand though some of these coaches that are like Patricia that really rely on kind of outsmarting the offense. You're going to lean into that 4-man rush system there. But it's so weird because it worked so good. How do you stop doing it going into the next year? Because it was so good last year because you had a lot of experience. You had a generational player in Caleb Downs that could do everything. Is Jackson going to have to take that step up? For me, he obviously didn't come out in the NFL draft last year because his stock was not high at all. But this is a more loaded roster going into this NFL draft. Is he going to be able to step up and make himself a first-round draft pick this year? Because that is what I was bitching and moaning about last year was there's no pass rush. We got to get to the quarterback because we have been spoiled. We've been some entitled guys watching Ohio State edge rushers the last few years, last decade, maybe decade and a half of watching like top-tier edge rushers Are we entitled, or does Jackson just need to play better because he can be that guy?
He's got to play better. But going back to your question about Patricia, I think he can do both things. He can run a scheme at the same time he can send people. And I
Yes.
think really when you watch him play, I think he wants to do both. I mean, he wants to keep the offense on their toes. They don't know what's coming. Okay, that's where it starts. And you look like at these players that are starting this year, most of them are really good tacklers. And what that helps on defense, if anything, you miss something or something blows up, these guys are out there and they can make tackles in the space, in space. So I think he has a team that he believes in. And I think he's going to take more control because he didn't have guys like Downs and that would react.
Yeah.
They could see it and react. Sonny was the same way. He's going to have to dial these guys in, and they're going to have to buy into his scheme and execute. But I think,
go ahead. I'm sorry. No, my bad.
all I'm saying is he's got experienced players out there that know how to play. So now we're giving them a chance to, be the first team and make things happen.
Because I watched Matt Patricia last season, especially the end. He really likes simulated pressures where you're still sending 4, but you're dropping a guy off. Like we saw so many times there in the Indiana game, Big Ten. Curry would drop out into the flat, and Sonny would come like a piss missile right up the middle. So I can see where he can make it look like pressure without it being a full blitz. And that's where that simulated pressure comes in at. And I think that's where I don't have this on our on our script here, but that transfer from Bama, Russaw, I think was his name, or
that's his name.
Yep.
Russaw.
I think that's where he's going to be very much utilized because he's not a bigger, faster, stronger than you guy, but he has that body type where he can drop out into the flat at a 5 to 15 yard kind of cover zone and be in that simulated pressure or do some different stunts because of his body size. But that's when I brought up simulated pressure. That's the first guy that popped in my mind. I was like, that is how he can work there. And then you got Alleguera, who is just, God, that guy. If he doesn't make it in the NFL, he's going to be a coal miner somewhere because he's so damn tough. And you just sent him right up the middle. But kind of move from there. I want to start with the secondary because we were talking about the secondary earlier. I really, really like Matthews and Sanchez. Matthews has kind of gotten more experience, but I mean, Sanchez was just a freshman last year. But they have that perfect cornerback shutdown size. They're long, they're fast, and they know how to play the ball, and they're willing tacklers. So those two, when you put all those 3 things together, that's an NFL corner. So what do you think about Sanchez and Matthews being the anchors on the boundary?
Well, Matthews played since he was a freshman. He played a lot. He had a pretty good freshman year, had a very good sophomore year, but last year he struggled, especially against Indiana. That receiver for Indiana, he got 8 passes for about 125, and Matthews was guarding him. And they always say cornerbacks have short memories. Well, I think they do in the game, but then they look back at it and they say, "Man, I didn't play good." And I think that's the biggest reason Matthews came back, because he looked at that and said, "I'm better than that." Because he really, that and the Miami game, both of them, and he didn't make tackles like he did. And he didn't, I think he's got a lot of talent, and he has the ability to play at the highest level. And I think he'll be fine. Sanchez, I think I saw him play as a freshman, and, he's coming on this year, and, he's really playing well. I think he's ready to make that next step where he's going to be a shutdown corner, that he wants to be that. So now he's got the attitude, he's got the physical ability, Now you just got to put it together and become it. And I think he's going to be welcoming that opportunity this year.
Yeah, I mean, I really think these two guys can be the step forward to bring back the great cornerbacks of Ohio State. When you look at the Denzel Awards that come out, there was like a 3 to 4, 5, maybe 6 year long stat where there was a first round corner taken from Ohio State. But we've been a little dry lately. We've been a little dry in that department. But Sanchez just excites me. We can't take a lot from the spring game, but that's SOB's a competitor, Pop. He's a competitor, and you can see it because even in a spring game against Jeremiah Smith, he's like, I know you're the best in the world, but you're not going to be the best in the world on this side against me.
Right.
I'm gonna fight you tooth and nail. He looks. Sanchez is like Igbo if Igbo was more talented and didn't hold because he has the length, the speed, the size. But Sanchez, that's my guy. That's who I'm circling. That's as much as the TV broadcast will let me. I'm going to be watching Sanchez because it is just there's something about him, Pop. I don't know what it is. He's just a competitor, and I'm in love with competitors. I love it. The more competitors, the better.
Well, that got IGB drafted in the 3rd round.
Yep.
And because not only did he improve his technique, but when he walks on that field, he's ready to fight. I mean, whoever it is, let's go. We're going to fight.
Let's throw the boxing gloves on.
everything he does during a play is to piss off the other guy and just try to get in his head. And I think, guys that get to that level, sometimes they don't have the ability, and all that trash talk and all that stuff, think that defers that. But IGB had the ability to play that, and he was, the commitment he made to play that position every time he walked on that field, whether it was a practice game or whatever, he's ready to go. And if that's the one thing I've seen in Sanchez. I've seen the ability. I think he wants to take on the challenges and things like that. But I think he needs to make that next step where he lets everybody on the field know I'm the best out here at corner. And people can do it different ways. Okay. You don't have to be vocal, but you need to let people know if you're coming on this side, you're not catching the ball. So,
yeah, and where he comes out on the defense and he points at the number 1 receiver, says, "You go, welcome, come on, bring it." That's what I just feel from Sanchez. Like that's only for me seeing him a little bit, but I can spot a competitor from a mile away with a certain different level of competitiveness. He is that to me when I'm seeing he's that guy because he was going tit for tat with Jeremiah Smith on deep balls. He welcomes the challenge. Like there's so many DBs in the country that they see Jeremiah Smith across from them. They're like, I just don't want to make it on a highlight reel. I'm going to play very, very safe. Just don't put me on a highlight tape. Sanchez is, come on, buddy. We'll go eat some lunch after this, but we're about to go to war right now. And I just love it from them. Now, you being my subject matter expert, who's after these guys? Who we think is going to play the nickel? And is there going to be any rotational guys? Do you think Patricia's going to be kind of rotating these corners in?
Well, no, I think what you're going to see at the nickel back is Little, the guy that transferred that came in from Florida State. I mean, he was a great player at Florida State, and I think
he wanted to win. He decided he wanted to start winning.
Well, that's when those guys started leaving, and he had that guy circled already, and he wanted somebody back there. He didn't have Downs, but he wanted somebody that was experienced, that will lead the team in the secondary, and I think he's got the player he wants. I'm a little concerned that he missed a spring game because he had a little problem with a knee, but they said it was a minor thing, and
still early.
But we've got 2 transfers. We got Little, and one of the other safeties is a guy from Duke. That's been there about 5 years. I think it's his 6th year of playing football. So, there's a lot of experience back there. I'm concerned, you know, if the guy from Duke, which is his last name Moore, Terry Moore, uh, he's playing at a different level than an ACC. Okay.
A lot
And
different.
this year's schedule, we're going to find out how good Moore's really going to be.
Is he a traditional safety or a corner?
No, he's a safety.
Okay.
He's a free safety. So
you think him and Little might be, or you think Moore's going to be playing safety and Little is in the nickel? Is Little, is he a corner or is he a safety?
Safety. He's
Okay,
a safety.
See, that leads me into my next thought is it kind of takes over the whole thing with college because Matt Patricia's a NFL style defensive coach and he wants to get his guys to the NFL. He doesn't want to play some of these different gimmick defenses that a lot of the college teams do. And I see that taking a big part. To use my Green Bay Packers in the same instance, our nickel is a safety as well. Do you think that's because it used to just be you're a nickel corner? Now that nickel position is starting to get taken by that third safety because these safeties are so they're a Swiss Army knife. They can cover, they can tackle. Do you see that kind of continuing to turn as the years go on? That it's no longer a nickel position. It's a sub package safety. I mean, it's still a nickel, but it's a safety.
Well, for Ohio State, the nickelback is really a hybrid linebacker.
Yeah, it's right in that middle.
Yeah, so they've got to be able to, cover a receiver at the same time. They'll come down in the box and
take on a tight end, take on a tackle,
whatever. And that's why I think Little is going to play that position because I think he doesn't have all the tools that Downs had, but I think he's a very good player. And I think based on his experience and his, I hope he has that, those intangibles that'll make him, the leader in that, that secondary. So I think he's going to do well. I really do.
Absolutely. And I'm excited for that because I was really hoping that you were going to tell me that he's a safety playing that nickel because I see how good it is because it's just, you're exactly right. Because the way linebackers are, it's getting away from your Ray Lewis style build, your Brian Urlacher style build now to like some of these safeties should be playing linebacker. It's just because they have that big size. But before we talk about the linebacker position, oh man, we got to drink us some beer.
Okay.
Because these linebackers are going to be some, piss hot, snot running. I don't care if you got a broken arm, tape that shit up because that is what the transfer from Wisconsin, Algera, I hope I'm saying his name right, is bringing. Like we've talked a little bit about Pierce, but Algera, he has all the intangibles. He's big, he's long, he's fast. He looks like a guy that could cover field to field. How is he going to be playing next to Pierce? Because it kind of feels like Alligator's that wild card where he can just go hit a brick wall and laugh about it and then come back to the huddle without, playing as disciplined as maybe that Matt Patricia defense is.
Well, I think, when you got to look at not only the starters, but the backup.
Yep.
Okay. They have the two guys that you're talking about are experienced guys. Pierce played a lot of football last year, even though they
really liked him. He needed to play more, in my opinion, last year.
Yeah. And so he, he's not Sonny or Reese.
No,
that's not his game.
Can't ask him to be those guys either.
He's reliable. He's a tackler. He's reading the plays and making it happen. And the same thing with, the guy from Wisconsin. He's the same thing. He's a football player. He comes in there and he's going to play and he's going to play until the game's over. And then, what he has left, he'll bring with him into the locker room and get taped up and go back. But, but behind those guys, we have some very, very strong backups. We've got Petty John. He's going to be, he would back up Alligator. How do you say his name?
Alligator. I think so. If Alligator, if you're watching this, We drink beer, okay? We don't pronounce names correctly. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We
And I'm
love you.
old. And I'm old.
I'm
Both are for you.
I'll tape my wrist up for you on game days. Me and you. We'll
right.
go run through brick walls. But the backups, you got
Yeah,
Jones.
Petty John and
Yeah.
Alford. Both the guys are in the same vein as Reese and Styles.
Ooh,
So
I like the
you've got
sound of that.
you've got two guys, and maybe one of them will make the starting lineup. I mean, you got four. I think Pierce will start every game.
Yeah, he's your green dot guy.
But I think you'll have other guys that may interchange through the year. But I don't think. I think Patricia will look at these guys and he say whatever they're looking for from the defense, he'll put these guys in. I mean, I think these two backups are going to see a lot of play this year, and I think they're talented to be on the field, but I think and it's naturally in college football that you want to go with the veteran. You know what you've got there, unless the other guy is just blowing them. In practice, it's head and shoulders better than the veteran. That's the only thing that will move him to move ahead of him. So I think we've got a good group there. We have another guy that's a freshman out of Glenville, out of Cleveland. This guy, what's his name? I forget what his last name is, but he was like a top 25 high school player coming out.
Love
it
that.
was Simmons maybe, or Sinclair or something like that. But he was a tackling machine in Glenville. And of course, we have the pipeline from Glenville to Columbus, and he came on down the road to us, and a lot of people were trying to get him because he's at the same level as what we had in Reese and Styles as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you have such good backups like that, it wouldn't even surprise me if Patricia starts kind of manufacturing ways to get them on the field. But I also, to that same other point, it could be team dependent. Are we playing against a team that wants to run the ball? Okay, you want Pierce, Allegheny in there because they're just going to run through a brick wall and make tackles. Do we have more? Do we have a exciting back in the backfield that can just? Then you kind of maybe want some more speed on the field that can cover. Like there's all different things where it's not the X's and O's, it's just Jimmy's and Joe's. Like my Jimmy needs to be able to cover that Joe, and maybe Allegheny can't do it as well as one of the backups can because all of them go there. And I think one thing that maybe gets a little construed is just because you transfer doesn't mean you're going to start. That's like that point there because we've seen plenty of people transfer and they ain't starting because the guys that are come through the pipeline are just better too at the same point. So that'll be kind of exciting to see because that room has the most question marks for me. So I really liked when Pierce came on. When Pierce played, and he played a lot, I want him to play more. He played very damn good. Where he is just your AJ Hawks of linebackers, where it's like you don't have to worry about me not doing my job. I am doing my job. Yeah. If my gap is a C gap on this run fit, I'm going to be in the C gap on this run fit. But you're kind of missing some different things with that. And then I like it. I like you just informed me on some exciting backers that can get involved here. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And then kind of like the last position group is, our big guys up front. Who the hell's going to get the quarterback, Dad? Who's going to get the quarterback?
Well, it starts with Jackson. I mean, he's going to have to be the leader. But, there's a lot of question on that other D end, okay? A lot of people are saying the guy from North Carolina, Atkinson, he had a pretty good spring, I guess, but he really didn't live up to what he did at North Carolina. And once again, it goes back to the ACC. The level of play is not the same, okay? No. So, he's one of the guys they're looking at. The guy you're talking about is more of a situational guy.
Yep.
Russell.
Yeah, I think his first name's Quay. I think it's Quay Rusall is his name. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy out of Bama.
But the one guy I'm gonna take a flyer on, and that's Zion Grady. I think he played some last year. I think he's going to be an outstanding player. When I see him play, and he's been around great players, and he knows he can play at that level, I'm hoping we'll get something out of him. And, you know, I'm going to take a little flyer on him and say he may step up and be the player this year.
I love that. And you can't have a good, edge rush if you don't have the hog mollies in the middle to do the dirty work. And we got the offspring of Ohio State legend Will Smith. His son's on the roster playing interior defensive tackle. Which one of these guys is going to be able to replicate what Caden McDonald did last year and really set the tone in the run game?
Well, it's going to be Smith, but not Will Smith. It's the guy from Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he's the real deal. I think he's really going to show people what he has this year, and I expect him to do that. As well as the other D tackle is another transfer, Walker, that's coming in. He's going to take Will Smith's spot. I think he's a better player. Nothing against Will. I think he's playing at the ceiling of his ability, but I think Walker's a better player. So you might see some transition in that position. But I think and if you go what I think, be careful following that, okay? Put the warning up.
I'll put a warning label up for us.
Okay.
There you go.
But, if you start with Jackson and Grady at DN and Walker and Smith, I think you got a pretty good four, and we've got some backups to come in that can rotate with them, keep them fresh. I think we're going to be okay. There's a lot of questions there because there are a lot of new players and stuff like that. And Jackson, we've got to have him to step up too. I mean, he played okay last year, but he's got to go, he's got to go to the next level, especially if he wants to go to the NFL.
Do you think he's going to break out? Would it surprise you if it did? If he breaks out, has a 10-plus sack season, cementing himself as a perennial first-round pick?
I would like to see that, but I just, for what I've seen him at this time, I think he can get better than he was last year, but I don't think he's going to become a number one pick.
Well, you got to remember that they're bringing in that black belt taekwondo guy to teach them all the different leverage moves. Maybe I think that'll be the first thing we see, is because if we start seeing some different chops, maybe a kick. Maybe NFL teams start bringing out more taekwondo guys.
Well, this coach, I'm gonna meet him out in the parking lot and see what he's got before he goes out there and make that thing happen. But there's a lot of talent there. Okay.
Yeah.
When you bring some guy in, and you don't see a real high ceiling, then you got to question it. But all of these guys all have high ceilings. Now, none of them have hit it. So, if you have a couple of them hit it, you had a pretty good year.
Yeah, because the potential, the ceiling's very, very high for Jackson. It's just, I need the production to match what you're able to do.
Yeah, and that's, with what you've seen, the ability flashes, but a real NFL first round gives it every down.
Yep.
I mean, you gotta, they either make the play or they're round the ball.
Yeah, Sabosa's,
they're
Chase
always
Young,
part of that.
These guys. Yeah, those guys were all, like, you look at Chase Young, Bosa brothers, those guys were always around the ball. Well, I need me another Golston. I need me another Vernon Golston, a guy that'll just blow shit up. That's what I need. Because if you don't have, the lack of pass rush just allowed teams to just stay in it way longer than they should have been. Drives lasted longer because you're not able to just get to the damn quarterback. But I mean, I think that room has probably the most open competition is in that room. I think that
I
in defensive line room is most competitive room out there.
Well, the good thing is there's a lot of talent. Okay. So you not have guys that you expect Jimmy Joe to come in and play out of his mind.
Mhm.
You know, these guys are talented, all of them, whether they're starting or backing up. That's the thing I'm concerned about. Will, I think he's playing at the level he can play. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, there's nothing against him, and his father was a great player, but you know, he's not the same as his dad.
Yeah,
Kind
I
of
mean,
the
you kind of.
same as you and your dad.
Hey. All right. Well, Pop, let's drink some beer before we hit on our last few topics here. Cheers.
Okay.
So, I want to talk a little bit about Matt Patricia because I feel like he's kind of in this weird grayish area of where he's coaching. If he has another great season as a coordinator and the NFL comes calling, do you think he entertains it, or do you think he is just so happy at Ohio State? I don't even want to go back to the NFL because I feel like right now college is like kind of like high school coaching too, where you just want to try and do everything you can to get your guy to the next level instead of yourself getting to the next level. And that's kind of what I read off of Matt Patricia, the way he talked to Caleb Downs when he got drafted and everything he's gone forward with those guys. I mean, if NFL comes calling, you think he's going to pick up the phone?
Well, he's going to listen. you know,
Oh.
you know, Patricia has done a lot of things in the NFL. He did was really good at New England, not so good in Detroit, but he spent a lot of time in the NFL. I think for him, he's going to make a decision based on what's the best for his family and not for him. I think he's at that point that it doesn't matter that he has acolytes or whatever. I don't think he's looking for that. He knows where he wants to be, and he wants to have success. And you know, it's hard for me to say he's going to stay at Ohio State for 10 years or he may go to the NFL. I think he's going to look at every opportunity and say, is this the best thing for his family? Because he talked a lot about last year before going to NFL. He said, man, my family, I see them all the time. You know, they love it here. You know, Ohio has just embraced his family. And, you know, when you start getting the age that he is, you're looking for something more than just your own success. It's is my family liking where we're doing? Okay. And it really, sometimes when you reach a certain age, you decide it's not what I want, it's what we want. And I think that's what we're going to see. Doesn't mean we'll stay at Ohio State, but
That's
I
that's
think
fair because he talked about how much he loves it at Ohio State. His family loves it, and I think maybe a turn that's going to start happening in the coaches sphere is a lot of these DC coaches. They don't tend to go have successful careers like defensive minded coaches in the NFL or head coaching in general because it's defense. Offense wins football games, but the defense is if you get a good defense, somebody's going to start calling. But I feel like he could be the Steve Spagnuolo to Andy Reid, where he's just work together until you get fired, brother. Like, because I love it here, because he probably gets to be a head coach of the defense, and Ryan Day takes on all the pressure, but he's still like, I'm a head coach of the defense.
yeah.
I just think that he takes on that role and he loves it. And he gets to see other because he already achieved his goal, right? He's an NFL head coach. He's won Super Bowls. Exactly to your point. It's not necessarily about what I want anymore. It's my family. I want to see my kids grow up and do the best things they can. And I'm still getting to see these other extended family, which is his players, reach their goals in the NFL. And I'm going to do everything I can to get them there. And I just think like that, he has such a sweet spot right there because you can tell how happy he is when Caleb Downs got drafted, Reese got drafted. And the first thing that Caleb Downs did when he drafted is, We talked about this defense last night. It's a Seattle defense. We talked about it. We know it. Like, it was boom. And that is the amount of equity that he's putting into these guys. And you just don't do that if you're looking for your next job. Like
Right.
that, once the last game's done in most colleges, that's it for you. Like, it's same thing at every level. You graduate your last game of high school football, you're done. That's where you're there, because the teams are already looking at the next year. But Matt Patricia puts so much equity into these guys because he loves them and he loves being at Ohio State, and it's going to be competitive every year. It's hard to walk away from something like that. And now you got to go rebuild, like Heartline's going to have to do at UCF or wherever USF, where he went. Yeah. That's a big change too. And if your family already loves it, it sounds like a happy marriage there between head coach and, because Ryan Day loves him. I mean, he loves him. But I think he stays. I think he might be like a long-term, like, setting the roots here. As long as Ryan Day's the head coach, and Matt Patricia keeps, performing, I could see them go on like a decade-long run of being together.
Well, there's a lot of things that Patricia brings to that position, but something he's not compensated for is how happy he was on draft day.
Oh.
And that and it had nothing to do with him. He was so happy because he's worked with those guys and knew they wanted to go to the next level. And not only did they got him there in the first round, I mean, who would have thought Reese would go in the top 5 or 6 or whatever?
Yeah.
And this guy started 1 year and played out of his mind. I mean, those are the things that you don't get paid for, but you would pay to have those things if you had to. I mean, you could see the real pride in Patricia had for these players that they, when you're a coach, the measure you have as a coach is to see your players meet their maximum output. Okay. And when you've got that, it's not the scoreboard, but the player is playing the best they can. And that's what he saw in those guys. And there's probably dozens back that he's working with now that he thinks they got a chance to do that next year. So I think it's different. It's not a business like NFL. He's still coaching kids and trying to get them to the level they want to be at. And he cares. And sometimes in NFL, it doesn't matter whether you care or not. You got to do a job. So a little different.
Oh, excuse me. Beer. So they're going to be younger here coming into this year, and it's kind of going to be more question marks. Do you think that works in their advantage, or would you much rather have pretty much concrete guys are in position A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the positions? Or are you kind of more excited that there is more question marks and the answers that could be there, and like the potential that they have? Because I feel like the last few years, they've really came in with, you have a pretty solid idea of who the starters are, and this feels like a lot more competitive offseason than in years past. Does that excite you more, or is it kind of like, ooh, this could go one or two ways? This could be really good, or this could be, we don't know what the hell we're doing.
Well, let's start off first. They don't have a bunch of young players. They have new players starting. Okay. And I think that's what Day was doing when all the guys left. He was trying to bring in veteran players that have experience. They've played in the games. And so what we have here, you gotta, you saw last year what we had, and we had some very talented players. Okay. So but you had other players around them that supported them. Okay. Now we have a group of veteran players, maybe didn't play at Ohio State, but they have experience. It's all going to come down to how they mesh together, because we don't have superstars. We have good players, but not superstars. So what that relies on, the execution you do in your position. But now it's going down to the real basics of football. Everybody's doing their job. And if everybody's doing their job, the outcome will be in your favor. And that's what we're expecting from this group. And I think this group thinks that way too. I just got to do my job. Because he's going to do his, he's going to do yours. We just got to do our job.
What's the definition of having fun?
Kicking ass?
Yeah, his definition of having fun is kicking somebody's ass.
Yeah.
And that's like the mentality they have to have going into the season, the same way they kind of went into the back end of the season, where it is, let's have fun by kicking someone's ass. And I
Right.
think and it can be a multitude of guys. And I think that it might be just one of those everybody's involved kind of deal. It's
Yeah.
a lack of, there's some word for it, but I can't remember where it's like by committee. It's like success by committee for these guys coming in. It's not like your stalemate. You got Sonny Styles in the middle, Caleb over the top, Igbo on the boundary. It's just, but now it's gonna take a village for us to go win a national championship this year, because like you said, we don't have any superstars yet.
Yeah.
Superstars yet.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out. And I think that's the most exciting thing going into this year is there's a whole lot we're going to learn very, very quickly about a lot of guys that we have not seen play.
Well, you also see this year, if somebody's not playing well, they'll change them.
Change on a dime.
They'll bring in a different starter.
Yeah, because it might
that's
just
one
be
of the
game to
things.
game. It could be a game to game thing. It could be a real advantage where it's a game to game deal where it's like what I said about the linebackers, where it goes across the board for the entire defense, where it's this game requires more cover 2 defense comparatively to a man 4-3, where it's like I trust Patricia's like, this is where I brought you in to do this. Go shine doing this, because just a few games of game tape will get you drafted in the first round if you excel. I mean, that's all it takes.
Well, son, I'll go back to the thing I said early on. These are really good players. Okay. Yep. So it's not like we're plugging in some young guy that was a 4-star. We hope he can play at this level. That's not what we're talking about. Guys that have had experience at the college level. And I really think, when you had Sonny and Downs, those guys could do what they wanted to do because they made plays. Well, these guys are going to have to make plays, but plays that are expected from their position. And if everybody does that, I think we're going to be pretty good.
You're going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, but I think you hit it on at the start. It's going to come down to the line, the D line. Will they get the pressure on them constantly? I mean, when we played Indiana last year, they were in our backfield instantly.
Yep.
And, we need to have a team like that. And every guy we have in here was at that level at some point in their life. We got to see it and go up, to the next level.
That gets onto the coaching to put them in the best position possible to do that. That's where the coaching comes down to on that point is because they can get the pressure, they have the ability to do it. Why are they not doing it? Is it them or is it me not putting them in the position to be successful? And that's really that biggest question. Is it the player or is it me as the coach not setting him up for success?
I'm glad you said that because that goes back to after the season when a lot of guys transferred out. I don't think they just decided they wanted to go somewhere else. I think they had a discussion with them, and at that starting left cornerback, we want them playing at here. But in the first 2 or 3 years, you're still here. And I can't risk this team that you're going to make up that gap.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen it.
When I already have a guy that's in between where I want that corner to play, and where you're at here, but Sanchez is already here that can get over here, and it's just you've been in the program 2 years. Because it's a business now. College football is a
Right.
business now.
Well, and that's the best thing I think Day showed the world, that he's not happy with the players he has. Before he probably would have kept
Yeah.
all of them and said it's all good.
Just not being complacent. Yeah, I'm just not
But
being complacent.
and I am very confident that Day had a plan last year, because I would tell you that he doesn't talk a lot, and he's funny and all that stuff, but deep down he's a competitor. And whatever it is, we failed against Indiana in the Big Ten. We failed against Miami. I got to make some changes.
Yep.
And that's the first thing that came in his head. We can't compete at that level now. We got to make changes. And I think he had discussions with some people that didn't like what they heard. I think some of those receivers, some of them were hard to see because they've been 5 stars their whole life. And someone said, I
Not
don't
good
think
enough.
you're there. I don't think, not here. You're not at the level we want you in. And we hope you have, wherever you go to, you have success, except against us. But, but I think that's the part I don't think people recognized until last year, that he was more aggressive on that front than he had or he's shown in the past.
Dad, that just fired me up. Like the hairs on my arms just got lit up because you talking about competing, getting rid of dead weight because there's a standard to meet. I just got all fired up from that, Pop. I'm ready to. Can I be Alligator and run through a wall right now and just tape shit up afterwards?
Well, I tell you what, just take a hammer to your arm, bust it up, and I'll tape it up for you.
There we go. Well, Pop, before we get to the last thing, let's drink a little beer. Let's drink a little beer here. Cheers to you. Let's go. Go Bucks. So, as we kind of wrap everything up here, on the defense side of the ball, give me however many players you want to choose. When you're watching it, I mean, obviously you follow the ball of where everything's going. But if you watch it, or even if after you rewatch the game, let's say they play the game against Texas, it's a great game, you rewatch it, who are going to be the guys you are most tuned into? Is it like linebacker, safety, corner? Because the TV broadcast only tells us so much, right? We really don't get to see a lot of the safeties are doing until the ball's down the field. But what is like some of those positions you're really looking to tune into early and often in the beginning of the season? Like right off the bus, the game against Texas is rolling, we're whooping their ass, and you're like, okay, let me see how Jackson's doing. Because a lot of times we see these players do really well after the play's done, instead of what they're doing down in and down out.
Well, I tell you, you bring up the Texas game from last year. All right. That was the first game I saw Patricia was changing people, right? He'd come up and start barking, and he'd be moving guys, and he's looking over here and pointing at this guy, and point this guy here or that. He didn't know what the hell was going on. But that jumped out to me. But naturally, when they snapped the ball, I want to see how our defense line, are they making a penetration?
Yep.
I mean, and I think that's just because that's the shot.
That's just a TV shot you got, yeah.
But you look to see, and you can tell right away, are they being stonewalled, or are they making, it's real quick. It's real quick, and you can see that. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes there's stunts and stuff like that, a couple of seconds more, but that's the first thing I see. And then the second thing I look for, especially if they're running the ball, are the people in the lanes they should be in. Whether it's the linebackers, are they the defensive end, keep them in, taking going wide, taking that away from them. You can see that. And of course, anytime they pass the ball, you're looking at the corners or the safeties coming over. Are they challenging them, or are they just, following them and tackling them after they catch the ball?
Yeah, and I'm really on the same start as you. Like, I can't really dive in until after I see, like, the coach's film of the position I'm looking for. But my guy that I'm going to be watching every single game, and as we go week in and week out of this season, it's going to be what the hell has Jackson done this game? And I know,
Yeah.
like, he'll probably shine against Akron, but he needs to come with some just ridiculous energy. Come start of the season against Texas. What better opportunity than Texas for you to stamp your mark as you're going, like, you came back for a reason, because you could be in the NFL right now. You could be at a mini camp right now, OTAs, but you're here. And because you know you can play better. Every coach has seen it. Do it. Go do it.
Well, the one thing you mentioned, one of my favorite players, Vernon Goldson. I mean, he was okay as a defensive end, but he made more money in one game when he sacked Michigan's quarterback Henney 4 times. And the last one, he just kind of knocked him down.
And then he's standing over him, clapping right in front. You got the picture. That's in the Buckeye room.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the kind of game Jackson's going to have if he wants to be a first round pick. If he can do that in Texas and just wreak havoc. I mean, a lot of people start talking about, because that's what happened to Reese. Those first couple weeks, he was all over the place. And that's what people started saying, this Reese guy's pretty good. And it kept up going on because he's making plays. And that's what he needs to do. I don't care who else he has on that line. He's got to make the plays. He's the one everybody should look to and say, okay, make the play. And that's what, that's what our defense is down to.
I couldn't agree more with you there, Pop. Now, the last thing. So we always do a story time with the old man. What is your first, like, what year was your first memory of Ohio State football?
1969.
Okay. So what we got here, this is a new fun way that we're going to start doing it, we're going to do a random year generator from 1969 to 2026. So whatever the year comes down to, you give me a story from that year. How's that sound?
I'll try my best.
All right. Let's see. What's it going to be? 1997.
Oh, that was a good year.
What do you got from us for 1997, old man?
Well, your Uncle Joe got married.
There you go.
And we were at, he was married on Saturday. And as your mother was getting ready to go to the wedding, it didn't take me long. So I went down to the bar in the hotel, and I'm watching them play Michigan State at Michigan State. And they were kicking their ass like they normally did. I think they were up like 17-3 by half. Okay. So I had to go upstairs, get your mother. We had to get on a bus to go to the wedding. And then after the wedding, they had a bus take us over to the reception. So we were sitting there on that bus, and all of a sudden, the bus driver came on and said, the Bucks lost 27-24, I think was and I said, what? That was one of the best teams we ever had. And we lost to them. And that's the biggest loss in my life, was on November 7th, 1997. Your brother's birthday.
Yep. Yep. Sorry,
So
Alex.
I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Yeah,
And
see,
they had so much talent on that team, but they just didn't live up to it.
Yeah, and this is that transparency. It's not always good stories from the old man of Ohio State wins. These are stories of losses too that we are giving the public. Well, that'll do it for this episode
Eddie, you
of
froze
the
up.
Beers and Balls Show. Episode 2 of the Beers and Bucks. Talking about the defense next week. Oh, man, we're going to be doing us a schedule prediction. We're going to break down all the wins, all the losses throughout the entire year. Are we winning the Big Ten? Are we winning the national championship? So all of those answers will be answered next Saturday. Dad, as always, I appreciate the hell out of you for coming on the show. The people love you, old man. The people love you.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but I enjoy doing this.
But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let us know any topics in the comment section that you guys want us to talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes. I saw a comment from the last episode talking about how Woody is mythical. When you brought that up, Woody, he's basically a coaching god. But let us know more of those feedbacks as you continue on with the rest of your day. And I guess hope you guys have a great weekend. We love you. God bless you. Goodbye.